Hi, welcome to Instructor Live. My name is Sam and this is Pilates for Conditions. Today we're going to be covering knee issues. Okay, there's different areas of the knee that could be affected, but generally this is going to be a knee strengthening exercise and just generally trying to improve the mobility of your knee, especially after you've had some kind of injury. If you do have any questions during the session, just type them in and I'll answer them as best I can. Or if you weren't able to see this class live, you can go to my profile page and ask me any knee related questions and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Right, so things we're going to need for this class: a chair, preferably something that's not too soft that you just collapse into, something that will keep you nice and in your posture. And then you want to, I've got a step, a piece of equipment here, but you can use any step in the house, or if you have a small table or a little footstool, that will be useful too. So if you need to pause this in the meantime, if this isn't your live class, then run and get those things now. Right, first and foremost, what we'll do is, actually I'll do that in a sec, we're going to just warm up those knees and we're going to do a little bit of standing balance work. Really good for strengthening up those little finer muscles that help to stabilize and keep the alignment of the legs and knee. So to start, we're going to just warm up a little bit, lubricate a little bit. So we're going to bring the feet together, legs together, and we're going to bend the knees and rest the hands onto those thighs, or onto the knees as such. And then you're going to just do little circles. Don't have to do two big circles, okay? The bigger the circle, the more load on the knees, and we're not trying to aggravate it at all. We're just doing little circles. Then change direction. Just loosening up, testing the knee, if anything, in this exercise. If you've had lateral ligament damage to the knees and you want to just do little small knee bends instead, that's fine too. Okay, give the legs a little bit of a shake. Right, feet in parallel, hip distance apart. And you want to really, when working with the knee joint, you want to really think about your alignment of the lower limbs, okay, in relation to the rest of the body. So to make sure that it's properly parallel, you bring your legs together, you open up your toes, so you're standing in a little ballerina pose, and then bring your heels in parallel, so just meeting up with those toes. That's what parallel is. Sometimes people think it's a bit wider than it actually is. So what we're going to do is, again, we want to get that functional movement back through the knee. So we're going to just do some small knee bends, and then reaching up. Lift up onto the toes, and then release back down. So small knee bend, and back. Lifting up, lowering down, and two more like that. And lift and lower. Small knee bend and lift and lower. Now, let's work a little bit on our balance, okay? So if you know, and it's quite recent after an injury and you're a little unsure, use a chair or use a wall or something that you can lean on in the meantime till you get a bit more confident using that knee. Okay, so hands on the hips. We're going to pick one leg up into tabletop. Working into the side of the glute, we're going to open that leg to the side, close it back. And three more. Breathing out. Whoops, I'm losing my balance. Sorry, I don't know where my mind went there for a second. And we're going to open out and close it back. Last one, we're going to open the knee out and then close it back. Then abs drawing in, and I'm going to give you the side version. You're going to lean the leg behind you, leaning forward. So you're balancing on that one knee. I really want you to think about your alignment. Your knee shouldn't be in front of the ankle joint. It should be a little bit closer to the actual ankle so that you're not kind of putting too much strain and load through that knee joint, especially if you've injured the patella and around there. So you're going to just straighten that leg as much as possible. I've got something touching my toe. That must be the chair. It's like blind Pilates here. And then slowly bringing the leg back up. So you might find, especially if you've had a knee injury, just trying to maintain one leg, our posture on one leg can be a real challenge in itself. So you're going to keep that leg lifted. If you're finding you're just too wobbly and need to rest that bent leg along the straight leg, that's fine for this movement. But now I'm going to take one of the sensors away from you, and I really want you to think about your breathing and try to stay as balanced as possible. Count how many seconds you can do this for. We're going to close our eyes and we're going to hold it there. 1, whoop, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then release back down. So you'll probably, if you're working hard, you'll really feel it quite a lot on that leg that we are standing on. Okay, it's okay to do that. Just shake and circle your ankles if you need a little bit of release there. It's really good for working those little finer muscles there that help to maintain that stability, and that's really important for your knee. So let's go on to the other side. We're going to pick the leg up into tabletop, open out to the side, close it back, and breathing out and breathing in. And we're going to do another 3 more. 1 and 2, and last one, 3, and then closing back. Abs drawing in. You're going to lengthen the leg behind you. I'm worried I'm going to knock the door, so I'm going to do the side version. So you're balancing on one leg. It does help a little bit if you bend the leg, but as I said earlier, you don't really want to be putting all that weight through the knee. So try keep it as straight as possible, fighting it, breathing, spreading those toes, and then bringing the leg back up into tabletop. I'll face you again, hovering that leg up. Now, let's see if we can hold our balance with the eyes closed. If you want, sometimes it helps putting the hands out, sometimes the hands on tummy. And again, if you need to lean that foot on the knee, you can. So we're going to close our eyes and we're going to hold it there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and release back down. Good practice for myself as well. I've had 2 surgeries on my one knee, so this is a really good exercise to do for your knees. Also, if any of you are quite into the outdoors, things like slack lining are really good because you're constantly working on your alignment, balancing on that slack line. Okay, right, next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab a chair. I'm going to bring it here in the center of my lovely blue mat. Bing! Okay, coming and sitting on the edge of your seat, okay, making sure you're not too low. If your pelvis is below your knees, the chair's too low. You want to get it as parallel as possible. Again, legs are in parallel, nice straight posture, shoulders over those hips, and then holding onto the sides of your chair just so that you have a little bit more support in this movement. So we're going to now, in one of the big areas and muscle groups that really help with stability of the knee joint are your quads. So often if your physio has given you exercises, it's usually there's something to do with strengthening these muscles. So you can do this on a nice sitting chair, even at work on your break. You're going to lift your leg up, flex the foot. Then you're going to straighten the leg. In fact, let me just move the chair back into a side version. It's a little bit easier to see that way. So we're going to lift up, and then without dropping your knee down to straighten the leg, you're going to straighten it at that height and then bring it back. Because if you straighten the leg and then lower the leg, you're not going to be working the quads as intensely as I'd like, So, I don't think I've ever said that terminology before. So you're going to lift up before, to where you were before, and then you're going to extend the leg forward and then bend it back. Breathing out to straighten, breathing in to bring it back. And we're going to do another 4 more. And extending, connecting through those quads, and then bringing it back. And another 3, and back. 2, and back. Last one, we're going to hold it there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release back down. Quite intense on those thighs. You'll probably also feel it in the hips as well. But again, really good for strengthening up those big moving muscles there. So let's do the other side. And you may find one side's a little bit stronger than the other. If you've had an injury on one knee, you'll probably start to see gradually its progress in relation to the other knee. So we're going to pick the leg up. We're going to extend the leg and then bring it back. Breathing out and breathing in. Again, try to keep a straight posture if you can. Try not to end up doing this kind of movement just to try to keep the leg up. You end up leaning back. You want to keep it up. And another 4 more. Breathing out and breathing in. Focusing on the alignment, hip, knee, ankle. Following that alignment, you might get a little bit of the quad. So your quads are your thigh muscles over here. They might start to shake a little bit, but that's fine. It's them trying to work and remember what they're supposed to be doing. And then last one, we're going to hold it out there for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release back down. Give it a bit of a smack along those thighs. Right, now the next one, we're going to have one leg bent. Other leg, you're going to rotate onto the side. So if you need to tuck your bottom cheek underneath you a bit to keep it open in that hip, that's fine. And then again, we're going to work a little bit into the inside of that knee. So there's a muscle there, little muscle there called your vastus medialis. Okay, this is a really good exercise for those of you who've had lateral damage to your knee joint. So you'll hear about the lateral ligament. You'll probably know if you've had the issue. So you really want to do this slowly and with control. Nice straight posture, big breath in. Lock the knee. It helps to activate that little muscle there in the inside of the knee. Pull the toes back and then lift the leg. Lower the leg. Again, only lift as high as you can feel the muscle activate. Don't feel that you need to get up to my height if you can only get to there. That's fine. And you'll obviously also be feeling it here in the inner thigh as well. They all work together to help stabilize that knee. And another 4 more. 1, and back. 2, and back. 3, and 4. Let's do one more. Hold it there, little circles. Keeping the toes pointing to the side. You don't want to end up having them pointing to the ceiling. Get that rotation. Lift and circle. 2, 1, and release back down. Give the legs a nice bit of rub and release and blood flow into them. Right, other side. So turn the leg to the side as much as you can. Again, tuck the bottom cheek in if you need to. Straight posture. We're going to say posture today. And we're going to lock the knee and lift. Lower back down. Breathe out to lift. Breathe in to lower. And really think about comparing both sides. Do they feel even in strength? Is one a little bit weaker than the other? Anytime you do one side of the body and it feels a bit weaker than the other, always add a few extra repetitions. Try to build up the strength to match the strongest side. And last one, little circles, lift and circle. And 5, 4, keep the toes pointing to the side. And 3, 2, 1, and release back down. Give it a good rub there on those thighs. And then coming into a nice sitting position. Now, obviously, many people, no matter what age group you are in, we tend to sit down and have to stand back up. If you've had knee issues, we want to work a little bit on how to get up in a safe position. You basically don't want to load everything through the knee joints, but you still want to think about your alignment when you're getting up. So it's often good to come to the edge of your chair. If you're on the edge of the couch or anything like that and you've got something to hold on to, use that so that you're using a little bit of your arms. These chairs are great because they help to push you up and then you can go forward quite easily. Otherwise, coming up, you want to bring your feet fairly close to your the couch, but in parallel. And I want you to think about your alignment when you're coming up. Often people, when they get up, they just in a rush and they go and they end up, pushing their legs and their knees to the sides, and then they're like, oh, my knee, my knee. So you want to really think about your alignment as you're coming up. So you always think hip, knee, ankle alignment. Use the chair for support. Use the edge. And then you're going to try not to lean too far forward, but if that does help a little bit, you can. But you want to try work the quads as you come up. So rooting your feet into the mat, abs drawing into the spine. You're going to gently lift yourself up, okay? So you should feel the quads connect a little bit into those muscles, and then slowly coming up, and the whole time thinking about your alignment as you do it. Don't get up too quickly that you're not aware of what's going on in the knees, especially if you've had an injury. Okay, let's move the chair over to one side. I want to go a little bit more now into people who have had any meniscus damage in the knee. Again, if you've had that, you'll know what I'm talking about. You want to, and so I'm going to now use a little step, okay? I'm told this is a step. I'm not very familiar with this piece of equipment, but it's a step, and that's what I need. So again, you can use this at home. If you're finding that you're a little unsure, always use a handrail or something that you can lean on when doing these exercises, okay? So we're going to start with one leg up onto the step. Again, if you have something in front of you to hold on to, or generally you want to make sure you're facing the wall to do this, you can put the little tablet on there with me telling you what to do. Okay, so you want to again think about your alignment and your glutes, okay, your bum muscles. They're really important in trying to maintain how you distribute the weight through the knee. So you want to make sure that your ankle is in line with your knee joint, your toes are wide across the step, and then you're going to try again. You don't want to push all your weight through your knee joints to do the movement, but you want to be able to stand up on one leg on a higher surface than the floor. So that's why we've got the step. So abs drawing in. Now you're going to, and I find sometimes just to get used to the movement, if you lift the other foot up onto the toes, then push down onto the other foot to lift up. Then lower the toes, lower the heels. So we practice that first, just so you get a little bit more comfortable with the movement. So you're going to lift the bottom foot up onto the toes, and then squeeze that bottom cheek of the other leg, and then try to straighten the leg without moving the knee around. If you need to look down to check that it's in line with your second and third toe as you come up, that's where we ideally would like to have it, and then release back down. Let's do 3 more like that. So lift up onto the toes, squeeze the glute, feel these guys working, watch the alignment stays over the second and third toe until you straighten that leg, and then lower onto the toes, release back down. And 2 more. Lift up, push onto the foot, and release back down. And last one, and lift, and release back down. Now we're going to do it without the little heel lift, okay? So we're going to put all of our weight onto one leg. I find sometimes having your arms up or out to the sides just helps to give you a bit more stability, but obviously if you need the hand support in front of you, you can, but we want to work towards getting the hands away from support. So again, use your glutes, use your quads, keep the alignment, and we're going to push up and stand tall, and then release back down. So if you've had that meniscus damage in the inside of the knee, this is a really good way to practice the mobility of that knee joint, as well as trying to strengthen all the muscles that work throughout the movement of load bearing in the knee. And then release back down. Let's do another 2 more. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Last one, we're going to lift up, and then release back down. Okay, we're going to move over to the other side now. So, I don't know why I was so awkward that I had to turn it around, but people in their ways. Okay, foot onto your step. Again, quite parallel if you can get it. And abs drawing in, we're going to start by lifting up onto the toes. Then, again, focus on your alignment of your knee over the second and third toe. And then squeeze that glute and lifting up. Lower the toes, lower the heel. And lift and push up. Do this slowly, especially if you've had a knee injury. The slower you do it, the better control you have, and the more you really absorb the movement pattern that you're trying to restore back in that knee joint. And 2 more. Pushing up, on, and then release down. Last one, lift the heel, come up onto that foot, and then release back down. Now, we're going to do it with without the little calf lift to start. So abs drawing in, big breath in to prepare. Get that foot right on the edge of the step, but make sure it's still supported. And focusing on that alignment, if you want, look down so you're really having to work. And then come back up and release back down. Right, let's do another 4 more. And then coming up. If this is your injured knee, you can always do a few more repetitions. If you feel strong enough to go and do a few more, that's fine. Just do it within your limitations. If you can only do 2, that's fine too. And then 2 more. We're going to breathe out, pushing up, activate that glute, and then release back down. Last one. And then release back down. Okay, I'm going to move that to the side. Now, we've been doing lots of different knee exercises, but what I want you to really think about, especially if you've had meniscus damage to your knee, but any knee exercise that you do, I want you to really think about how you're connecting through your knee joints, okay? So to explain what I mean, we're going to come down onto the floor. Now, if you're struggling with the knee and, bending down like that's too much, often what I say is if it's both knees, then it's a little bit more challenging. But if it's just one knee, hold onto the wall or a chair, bend one leg down, and then kind of use your hands to get down. If it's both, you might find you want to kind of slither yourself down onto the mat, whatever way works, okay? Just be careful if you've damaged on the sides of the knees. Don't twist too much in that knee. So, whatever way you get down, we're going to come up into a nice sitting posture, okay? I'm going to work on this one knee. If it is both knees and it's uncomfortable resting the other leg in a bent leg position, that's fine. You can just bend it up like that. That shouldn't do any damage or anything like that to you. Right. Now, what I want you to do, and sometimes this does help if you have a little jersey or some kind of small rolled up tea towel for your knee to rest on, okay? But what I want you to do, and this is in any movement pattern that you do, when you walk, when you run, when you climb upstairs and all of that, you want to think about what's happening in your kneecap, okay? So we're going to just do a little test here. We're going to take our fingertips, we're going to bring them underneath the knee, okay? So behind the knee joint. Now, I want you to think about locking into your quads, so these thigh muscles, okay? So I want you to just switch them on however you think that would go. So you're going to lock into those quads and then release. And one more. You're going to squeeze those leg muscles and release. Now, if you felt that the back of your knee was pushing down onto your fingertips, that tells me that you're jarring the knee quite a lot, and over time you're going to get damage and it's really going to hurt. So what I'm going to show you now is to activate your quads, okay, your thigh muscles. It doesn't mean that you should just jar your kneecap down and go hard into that knee joint. To activate it, and this is where a little rolled up towel or something will help. I'm just going to lift my knee up, okay? But if you want to just grab something, a little cushion or something, that's fine, okay? But now I'm kind of now bending that knee a little bit. So I'm taking it off lock, okay? If you felt that your knee was pushing down into your hands when you're trying to activate these muscles, you need to keep that knee slightly bent and practice this exercise a lot, okay? So with my knee slightly bent, now I'm going to, and this is where it gets a little bit weird, okay? But it just helps to get the muscles and then the brain connected to that area of that body, okay? So you're going to kind of just stroke your thighs, okay, in a really lovely way. So it's that feeling of bringing the muscles towards the hip from the knee, okay? So that sensation of touching the muscles helps to make them realize, oh, we've got to kind of move that way too. And then you also want to imagine like a proper old school bread loaf, you know, those rectangular ones where they're kind of pinched in at the sides and they've got that little round dome on the top. That's that loaf of bread. That's what you're kind of doing with your thighs. You're bringing the thighs together and then pulling up towards the hip, but without jarring and locking that knee joint into the mat. So to do that, it might take a bit of practice. It's quite hard sometimes. So sometimes it helps to start with the hands. You're going to squeeze the thighs, which hopefully you would have felt from the sitting on the chair exercises. And then you feel the muscles kind of naturally draw towards the hip joint. If you see that your kneecap starts to slide a little bit up towards the hip, you're doing it correctly, okay? So it's that locking of the knee, but not jarring into the knee that we are aiming for, okay? You want to be able to switch on these muscles without putting any strain through the knee joint. And then release. And squeeze and tense, tense, tense. And release. Let's do a few more. And squeeze, tense, tense, tense. Again, do the under the knee check. And then release back. So ideally, you should be able to have your legs straight on the mat, locking into those quads without any jarring into that knee. So again, practice this movement if you're not used to it. Let's just do the other side, okay? So straight leg. Again, test if you're doing it with this knee too. So you're going to lock into the quads. If you're pushing down on the hand, you need to lift that knee up a little bit, keep it elevated over a little cushion or something, or just hold it in that position. Stroke the legs a little bit, get used to that movement muscle pattern, and then squeeze the thighs. It might not be a very big squeeze. I mean, it's not going to break anybody's bones with that little squeeze, but it's just to activate the muscles, then release. The more you practice this, the stronger the legs will be, and then release, especially with doing the exercises on the chair too. So again, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You'll hopefully see the kneecap move just a little bit towards the hip, and then release down. Practice right down onto the mat as well. Squeeze and pull, 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 and then release. Two more, and squeeze, 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 and then release. Last one. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera from the ceiling that can show you what my leg muscles are doing, but you should be able to look at what your own leg is doing, because that's where we're actually working anyway. And then releasing back down. Okay, give those legs a good little shake out. And then what I want you to do is I want you just to open and roll your legs in the hip joints, okay? We've been doing lots of exercises that have been strengthening up these quads. So you want to just kind of release the hips a little bit. Sometimes all that load and holding up the legs can actually have an effect on how the knee and the rest of the alignment is going. So just loosening up, rolling, and noticing if you can roll one leg more than the other. So you'll find that maybe in the hip joints, okay, because the hips, the ankles are all related to what's happening in the knee too. So sometimes if you've got a tightness in one hip, it can affect the alignment of the knee. So this is a good way to kind of just see how the hip joints are doing. So one might be tighter than the other. If your foot can get closer to the foot on one side, it's a little bit more open. And then you'll know that you need to stretch out those hips a little bit too. Okay, right, so those are a few simple different ways of doing some knee exercises. So we're going to come back into standing, do a few stretches. Again, come up however gracefully, not leaning into the knees like I'm demonstrating now. You might find going onto one side, using your hands to come up is a better way of doing that. Okay, so shake out those legs a little bit, okay? Often, sometimes knee injuries also come about because of quads that are too tight. So often, you'll find a lot of athletes who are really, really ripped and will do a lot of running. Your footballers, it's World Cup season. You'll find they get really tight on their quads and they start to get all sorts of pains, maybe below the knee joint. And sometimes it's just because the muscles are too tight and they're not flexible enough, okay? So if you're comfortable, depending on what knee injury you have, if not, just come into a hamstring stretch instead. But otherwise, let's see how those quads are doing. You're going to stretch out the front of the thigh, knees together, and just stretching through. If it's pulling on the knee, causing any sharp pain, stop and go into this hamstring stretch instead. But always make sure your quads, especially when you've been working them, you want to make sure that they're not just getting too stiff that now it starts to affect the knee in other ways. So stretching out the quads and then over to the other side. So some knee injuries, this feels perfectly fine, no issue at all. So in which case, just give it a nice little stretch there and then just releasing through. Right, so last exercise, okay? I want you to have your legs in parallel, okay? So hip distance apart, but one leg back and one leg forward. Now, a lot of what happens, especially in knee issues, when you're going up and down stairs, you can find that there's a lot of strain for particular knee issues, okay? So again, we did the one step exercise where you can really focus on keeping your alignment, using your glutes to help lift you up onto the stair. But now I want you to also think about how the top half of your body is in relation to your knee. If you're leaning forward all the time and you're tired and you're exhausted and you're coming up the stairs after a long day and you're putting all that weight into the knee, over time it will get strained, especially if anybody's got arthritis in their knees as well. Sometimes that's a knee issue in itself, and you don't want to be putting too much weight and load through that. So what we're going to do, we're going to lift the back heel up off the floor so you're on the toes. And I want you to practice just adding a bit of load in the knee but without straining it. So we're going to just do some gentle bend both the knees, dropping down and then lifting up, okay? Breathing in and breathing out. Now, when you're doing this movement, don't think about going forward, okay? You want to go vertical down and then vertical up. Again, focusing on the knee alignment. Don't bring the knee in front of the ankle. Keep it in line with the ankle. If you need to widen your stance, you can. And let's just do 3 like that. We're going to breathe in and then breathing out. Glutes activated. Breathing in and then breathing out. Last one. And coming up. And again, of course, you can do a few more repetitions, but just so we feel quite even, let's do the other side just to finish up. Lift the back heel, hips are square, vertical drop down, vertical lift. Don't lean forward and put all the weight through the knee. You want to keep it in the quads and back up. 2 more and lift. And last one, lift, and you're done. Obviously, with all these exercises, if you can't do the amount of repetitions, especially if it's quite an ongoing knee issue and it's been weak for quite a while, just gradually progress and add as many repetitions as you need. I hope it's been useful. Again, if you have any questions, you can go to my profile page. There's still loads you can do to exercise as well as maintain the pain and get your knee restored, okay? So I hope you had a wonderful session and I'll see you next time.